The sun has disappeared, plunging the world into an eternal night. Shadows now roam the streets and will try to kill me wherever I go. There are special variants, everything from sprinters that can push me over, to shadows that will scream and attract even more. Will I even be able to survive one day in this hell? Can I survive Project Zomboid if the sun has vanished? I start on day 1 in a random house. I'm in the modded city of Chestown because it looked fun. You will have noticed that unlike my regular runs, this time we're actually starting off at night. Initially I thought this would make it darker, but eventually I realized the street lamps actually make it a lot easier. I am using the CDDA Zombies mod to add variety to the enemies I encounter. I have, however, almost completely disabled the spawns of slower zombies, meaning that it's mainly sprinters and screamers. I did, however, want to still survive, so I installed a mod which makes sprinters a little bit slower and so that they're actually survivable. That is a brute. The brute is easily the worst thing I could encounter. Not only is it a sprinter, but it will also push you over if it gets the chance to, which is exactly what it did. I got extremely lucky there as I managed to actually escape. I locked it inside the house it came from and ran to the nearest place I could find. I had to get bandaged up quickly. Having even a small scratch on your right arm can be a death sentence. But if you thought that was going to stop me, you would be wrong. I know that I have to get moving. I'm not sure exactly where to go, but I know that I can't stay around here for much longer. The shadow zombies blend in almost perfectly with the surrounding area, making it even harder to figure out where they are just by hearing them. The worst part is how I can't differentiate something like a very weak screamer zombie from a brute just from their sound. While searching in a small storage room, I find a baseball bat. Having a long to medium distance weapon is extremely important for this apocalypse scenario, especially considering wrestler and brutes can push you over if they get too close. After looting the house, I decide to check the attic. Here I find a feral shadow. They don't have the ability to push you, but they're still sprinters. This one appeared to be maybe mimicking a person. It was still wearing clothes and had hair. Something about having the very reduced zombie population actually makes this a lot scarier. Considering how the zombies perfectly disappear within the shadows of every street, I have no idea when to expect one running at me. While I had found a stun gun early on, which is a pretty good insta-kill weapon, it wasn't going to last forever, and I should start working on finding a good place to call home. Soon enough, I find myself at a large grocery store. The front is nicely illuminated by some lampposts, and I can actually see things here. What you just saw that zombie doing is another one of the main dangers I've added. Zombies will no longer stumble over fences and windows. Instead, they'll vault like a player would. Mix this with the fact that they will instantly break windows, and suddenly This grocery store doesn't look like a very good base anymore. With that in mind, I leave the grocery store. It's not the greatest place to stay anyways, and I move further into the streets. As you'll recognize by the audio I have just played, that is another brute. No matter what, I am really not down to fight a brute unless it is absolutely necessary. I decide to run away as fast as I can. All that I know from previous experiences playing with this mod pack where I died too soon to make a video is that brutes are very good at killing you. I decide to take no chances and run even around the supermarket just to get away from it. Just in case, I jump back into the supermarket so that I can go around the front and hopefully lose it. Heading back into the street, I find a very large building. On the front it says courthouse. This probably means that it's a courthouse. I decide to check inside. Maybe there's some loot, or maybe it's just a good place to set up a base. Making my way inside, there's actually not too many zombies inside. This is good. It seems to be a pretty large building, and there seems to be some kind of underground level. It's not truly underground because the first floor is elevated, but if there's no windows down there, it would actually make for the perfect safe room location. I quickly check the second floor just to make sure it's clear of zombies and such, and it's actually pretty clean. I have a feeling this is going to be my best chance for a base for the time being. There's quite a lot of things I could deconstruct in order to barricade windows and doors. Heading into the basement area, it's pretty much one of the best spots I've seen for a base. You have a lot of storage space, absolutely no windows, and only one door into the outside. Additionally, you have like 4 vending machines that you can use to block this door. After looting and deconstructing a lot of things downstairs, I decided to start blocking up some doors and windows. I decided to head down the street a bit. I could see on my map that there was a blue building down this way. That means community services. It appeared to be maybe a church or another courthouse. But usually these community services buildings can be police stations, and that was kind of what I was looking for at the moment. I continued down this street. Thankfully, the majority of the shadow people seemed to be inside the buildings instead of on the street. I didn't encounter too many on my way downtown, but I also didn't find too many items of value. After finding a saw in a little house, I started deconstructing everything I didn't need. After all, it was a really good idea to start barricading windows and such. The last thing I needed was to come home to have a brute waiting for me down in my safe room. Halfway through destroying things, we get a blackout. I decided to increase the time it takes for the power to go out globally, but we still have a 5% chance of a blackout every in-game hour. They last for a random amount of time, and all the power in the map will be off for the time being. During the blackout, I start setting up some barricades and a couple of sheets on the windows here. For the time being, I'm only putting down one plank just to stop zombies from climbing through. Later, I'll actually block them with more. After a bit of planning, I set up a failsafe. If I do get chased by a large amount of zombies that I can't fight off into this base, then I can just block the stairs with this vending machine and hopefully make my way out through the back door. I decide to go back up to the residential area. I quickly take out a wrestler, causing me to have to put away my flashlight for a moment. Only then do I realize just how dark it actually is out here. If you don't have a flashlight in hand, you can barely see anything. Since all I was looking for were some sheets, I found them pretty quickly and went right back to my base. Now I could finish fortifying some of the rooms. And in the worst spot possible, just as I said was going to happen, there's a brute waiting for me. He manages to get me a laceration on the neck. I had to quickly bandage myself and ran upstairs. This wasn't good. I was cornered and I couldn't jump out because this was the 3rd floor. That meant that my only option was to fight him. I tried to stand back in preparation, but the brute just went after the other door. I tried to open the door he was attacking and got immediately pushed. I got hit again because I got stuck on the bench. But however, I managed to get him in a stun lock. I wasn't strong, in fact I was very much injured in pretty much my entire body. But I managed to take him out. At this point, I knew that I just had to barricade all the entrances as soon as possible. The faster I could seal myself inside, the better. I begin by triple barricading both of these doors that lead into this room. I don't care if it's a good, nice-sized room, it's cursed now and I never want to open it again. I'm not going to close the other room off as I can still use these windows to get outside. The other one, however, is absolutely cursed and I will never enter it again in my life. I put more planks on each of these windows here. If this room is going to stay open, I want to make sure absolutely nothing comes in. At least unannounced. Since I wanted to take absolutely zero risks with another brute breaking in, I decided to even block up most of my doors with furniture, blocking 2 of them with a table and 1 of them with a vending machine. I only left 1 door unblocked because it's the one I need to get back in. After triple barricading all of the windows, I go outside and barricade the doors once again. In case you can't tell, I really don't want these doors going down. That and I also think barricades look pretty cool. After going around and just doing some general barricading, I go to bed and wake up the next day. Checking on my map, I saw that there was another building marked as community services nearby. And by nearby, I mean literally across the street. With some luck, this would be the police station I was after. Before I could get there though, I found a new type of shadow person, the necromancer. As the name suggests, it will revive corpses around it. So it's pretty good that I took it out so fast. But hey, we're at the police station. Turns out it was right next to us the entire time. The interior seems to be pretty barren. Unlike every other police station in the game that I pretty much know by heart, I don't actually know where anything is in this one, so I'm gonna have to do a little bit of exploring around. I decided to take a risk and deconstruct the door here. I find myself in some large hallway with a ton of jail cells, but no loot really. After kindly opening the door for a feral, I decide to go upstairs to see what I find there. But first I put on this crucifix. Maybe it'll protect me from something in the future. Going up to the next floor, I see another flight of stairs and a door. I decide to check out this door, and it actually leads into a locker room. Police office locker rooms are pretty OP as they tend to include a lot of police gear, and with my mods, a ton of SWAT gear. After looting everything I could from the lockers, I decided to check out these locked doors. These require a key. I don't have a key, so I'm just going to deconstruct your door. I open said door and find a feral locked behind a cage. I don't think it's meant for prisoners considering there's gold and a generator and weapons back there. But this seems to be the weapons stash of the police station, even including some cool SWAT gear. After getting all geared up, I decide to leave and go leave some stuff back home before checking out some new places. I decided I should start looking for a way to escape Chestown. If I could maybe bring a ton of food into a cabin in the woods and start growing my own produce there, I would be perfectly fine living forever far away from these shadow people. What I didn't account for was the fact that there was going to be a party up here, including some fan favorites like the Wrestler and the Shrieker. The Shrieker is just a normal screamer, but it makes even more noise and attracts even more shadows to my location. I don't even know why so many of them were grouped up here. It's almost like they were waiting at the top of the stairs since they know Zomboid characters can't look upwards. I decided to make my way to the final location I would check out before leaving into the middle of the woods. All I had to do was get there, maybe pick up some loot on the way, and leave. The faster I could get away and into that little cabin, the better. On my way through the city center, I ran across quite a few shadow people. Nothing I couldn't handle though. At this point, I was getting pretty used to fighting all the different variants I had found. I walked past a couple of broken down, dilapidated stores. Some of them even with graffiti indicating that there were living people inside, even though I kinda doubt that by now. Thankfully, a lot of them were locked up, and the shadow people seemed to be content staying inside and didn't come out to chase me. And finally I was here. It seemed to be a gas station of sort, which was to be expected. When I got closer, there seemed to be a couple of shadows around, but it still didn't seem like enough to be a problem. Looking into the restaurant, I saw maybe one or two ferals, which soon sprang up into action. Before I knew it, there was a tough behind me and I was missing some hits. Still, I should be fine if I... Oh, I missed. So this proves that no, I cannot survive in Project Zomboid if the sun has vanished.